Good morning, everybody. You all know me. I'm from Mossel Bay, chairman of IOPSA around here and assisting with these presentations. And this morning we're doing something which is, it is technical as such, but it's something that a lot of the guys would say, but yeah, I'm a plumber, I'm not doing written communication, I just fit the pipes. But eventually you'll move on in the industry, you'll become a business owner, or you are a business owner already, and you want to get yourself into writing reports. We find it quite often when you get to a burst geyser and there's resultant damages. The owner says, the insurance company requested a report. Can you write me a damage report? So how do you do this? So there's a few pointers. If you go to America, you'll find them calling it a brief or a summary. The UK will call it something different. South Africa, we call it a report. And there's various ways of doing it. So this is not the set way of doing it. These are a few pointers of how to do it logically, how to structure a report, and how to get the best out of it. What you've got to bear in mind when you're writing a report is who is the reader. You must always think of who's the reader. He's not a plumber, most probably. If it's a plumber, yes, you can go in and just have a normal chat about what the technical terms are, whatever. But now you're writing it for the insurance company. They want to know what happened at the scene, what is the problem, and what was the cause. So you got to bear that in mind. Who is the reader going to be? So let's have a go and see what a written report is all about. Okay. So we've had forms of written communication on the Business 101. We looked at letters and emails, how you structure them formally, proposals and quotations, invoicing, and WhatsApp as a form of communication. But be very careful. Obviously, that is not where you're going to do a report. Contracts and certificate of compliance is also a form of written communication. It's a record, and then reports. So report writing, you saw the fountain pen out there. We're not using that anymore. We're doing it via computer. We're all becoming computer literate and writing our own reports. Years ago, used to write it by hand, or used to have a typist who used to type it out, and then you have to read it, proofread it. And that's the important thing about a report, is you've got to make sure that you don't write it incorrectly, full of spelling mistakes, whatever the case may be. You must edit it. It's a lot of work. A report is not something that goes quickly. The characteristic of written communication is accuracy. The facts and working must be accurate. Opinions and deductions must be distinguishable from the facts. The reader must be informed in the shortest way, consistent with accuracy and clarity. Brevity is achieved by planning and careful editing. Editing, very important. Read through the report again. See what it is. Give it to your wife or your girlfriend. Say, read this, doesn't make sense. Clarity, it must be intelligible, reasoned, and ambiguous. And relevance, any irrelevant word, phrase, or idea must be excluded. Don't, well, I think this is good, let's put it in. You don't do that. The test is, if the word is omitted, will the argument be affected? It must be logically structured. That's the important thing, very logically structured. It can also be a form of problem solving. This is actually what you're doing, is you actually, you arrived at the scene after the geyser has burst and all this damage is here. So it's like an investigation, but by logically structuring all the facts in a logical sequence, you can get to the reason why this geyser most probably burst, or why the resultant damages was there. It must be effective, relevant, and persuasive. The aim to be direct and courteous. Don't go and bash the client. He didn't do this or he did that. Be courteous about it. Be direct. Express your views simply. Jargons. Use short everyday words and phrases. Be careful of using phrases, you know, that in our, we can actually call it that we've got a plumbing language. When we talk plumber to plumber, you know, we talk about the PRV and the NRV or something like that. But to the consumer out there, to the guy at the insurance company, he's not a favor with those acronyms and stuff. Use and avoid the use of acronyms and abbreviations. An abbreviation formed from the initial letters or other words and pronounced as a word such as IOPSA, it's the Institute of Plumbing, PLB, Plumbing Industry Registration Board, and as mentioned, PRV and TP valve, pressure reducing valve. You'll have to write them out. But what do you do when you use an acronym in written communication? You'll write out the word fully. So in the case of the Institute of Plumbing South Africa, and then in brackets you will put it IOPSA. And that the first time you use that acronym in any writing, directly after that you put your acronym, and then you can use it freely in your document thereafter, because you've explained it right in the beginning. And so your second paragraph, you can say the fact that IOPSA is a member organization means that it has different mandate to the PRB, which is a registration body where plumbers register to be licensed, because you've already now qualified what that acronym is in the first paragraph. So what a technical report is not, it is not there to entertain people. You're not going to keep the reader in suspense. You're not writing a thriller. You are just reporting, and that is basically it. Explain or give feedback on a situation, and in the case of a plumber, normally done after an inspection of a plumbing installation or a request pertaining to a certain occurrence. And at the end, we'll just briefly touch on doing a report for the sale of a property. I don't want to go into too much of that today, but I'm taking an example of a burst geyser. So what is the composition of a report? You have a title, a strong title, because it must say exactly what this report is about. Introduction. In the introduction, you're going to give a bit of background, not too much, just what is necessary to qualify the report. And you're going to have an aim. The aim is to report on whatever the case may be. And then you've got the body of the report. Now, this is where people, some call it a summary, some call it a brief. I just call it plainly a report. That is the structure, the whole story is in the report. And then your conclusion. And in your conclusion, you will have recommendations flowing out of what you've discovered. So once again, in the title, make it concise, relevant details. So here's an example. You'll have your resultant damage report on water damage at 25 Pinelands Drive, Cape Town for the insured Mr. Jones, 19th November 2020. So there it says what the report is about. It's about water damage. Where is it? Got the address and who it is for, and the date that you're doing this document. In the introduction, it contains the background to the situation, any information that the reader would require to understand what the report is about. So let's look at an example of this. So you've got that strong title up there, report on the possible cause of water damage, clearly, and you'll put it in bold letters and capital letters so that it stands out. Introduction, because your reader, something that stands out leads him through the document, because a good reader and a good report writer, eventually if they understand each other, you'll only have to read the introduction and the conclusion and the recommendations and findings, and he'll know what's inside the report, because sometimes he doesn't have to know all the detail, and if he wants the detail, he can go and refer to it. So in your introduction, you've got some background there. You'll say, I'm a licensed plumber with the Plumbing Industry Registration Board. Your number, in no way does this report reflect the opinion of the PRB. I will use the relevant regulations and installation standards where required to state the level of compliance. The South African national standards, and then you have the references that you are going to use. You can put that in as background there, and you'll see that I've used the acronyms there. That's SANS, everybody's talking about. It's not SANS compliant. You're right there, the South African national standards, SANS. And then later in the document, you can refer to SANS 10400. And they are qualified exactly what the ones I am going to use in the document. In paragraph 3, it's just like completing whatever the background is. On arrival at Pinelands Drive, I found the whole house underwater. It appeared that the geyser has burst as Mr. Jones pointed towards the roof. Whatever the information is that, but only factual, not emotions. You're not going to put in emotions. She was crying or she was shouting or anything. Just what happened. She was pointing towards the roof and saying, I have a problem, whatever the case may be. So now you've got to put it in there. What is the aim of the report? The aim of the report is to report on the possible cause of the resultant damages at 25 Pinelands Drive on 19th November 2020. To write the aim is very important, because you must know what is the aim of this document. What do you want to achieve? Is you want to report on the damages, and that's all. Because everything you're going to write here after, you're going to qualify it against the aim. So you can actually write the aim somewhere next to your document or next to your keyboard, you put it down there, and as you write your document, you look at the aim and see, am I referring to that aim the whole time? Am I keeping to this? Because if you are diverting or digressing, you're not following the aim. So you can test everything you write against the aim. Are you reporting on it? Right, in the report, you're going to have, for instance, the geyser. You're going to state the location of the geysers in the cellar cupboard, hanging from the wall only by the pipes and one roll bolt. It was found that the geyser was a 250-litre geyser, and the feet of the geyser was badly corroded. The wall was full of mold and wet. Short, to the point. And then you'll have just after a discussion, and you won't have a finding after every discussion, only if it's relevant and it pertains to the aim. And so here we have a finding. It was found that the geyser was not suitable for wall hanging as specified in SANS 10254. And then you can put in the relevant paragraph there, 5.4.2, where it states that a geyser larger than 200 shouldn't be wall hung. Finding number 2, you can have 2, 3, 4, or 5 findings out of one paragraph of discussions. It was found that the wall that the geyser was mounted to in the cellar wall with moisture and mold showing on the wall. And then you'll have a next point of discussion, pipes. The pipes are all in good condition, and some could possibly be recovered for reuse. Short and stately. There's nothing more about it. There was no finding to be made on the pipes, so you're not going to make a finding if there's nothing that you can find on it. So water damage that appears to be from the pipes that dislodged when the geyser tore away from the wall, and therefore without adequate testing, I could not safely state that the geyser has burst. So finding number 3, it was found that after discussing the matter with Mrs. Jones, that the geyser was 10 years old and they replaced the anode yearly. So you made this finding, and you go and look, test your report against the findings and your document aim. Very important. Go and see, is it still pertaining to the aim? Are you reporting or are you digressing? The aim of this report is to report on the possible cause of the resultant damages. So that's all you're doing there. You're just reporting. You're not making any statement of it's because, or a finding that it's because of negligence or whatever the case may be. You're just reporting. Then after a couple hours of writing, you've got all the findings that you've made, and you've got a list of findings. Finding number 1. It was found that the geyser was not suitable for wall hanging as specified in SANS 10254. Now you'll see I'm referring to paragraph 6. So what you've got is you've got this body of this report. You wrote the report and you have all these findings, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and as many as you have been made. And then after that, you make a list of the findings so that if the reader wants to see all the findings, they're all together. So once you've got all the findings together, it's easier to read and makes it more logical in sequence. So you have this list of findings, and but they must also follow in sequence. So you have finding number 2. It was found that the wall at the geyser was mounted onto the cellar wall with moisture and mold showing on the wall, paragraph 7. And so you go on, and I see I've omitted the paragraph number for finding number 3. That would be paragraph number 8. So it was found that after discussing the matter with Mrs. Jones, etc., etc. So no new findings or discussions are made at this point. If you come to the findings, and then you know, as you go through this, your logical thought process is being triggered. You discover, oh, well, maybe I should make this finding. You're not going to make a new finding now. You must go back into your report, and you must go and state the facts again, because this is new facts. You can't just now come up with new facts. You must go back into your report, and you must work it into the report, write those facts down, make a new finding, and then you can come and add it in here. You can't now make new factual statements over here. So then you write your conclusion, and the elements of the introduction are not now repeated. You're not going to write the conclusion. You're going to tell them about the introduction and the background again, because it's there already. So a good reader would actually just want to read the introduction. You'll read the list of findings, and you'll read the conclusion, and you'll have the whole report. And if he wants to know more about it, he'll go into the discussion and how you got to the findings, if it's necessary. And that's why when he reads the findings and you refer to the paragraph numbers, if he wants to know more about that finding, you can go and refer back into the document. He knows where to find it. He can goes back. So the damage at 25-pound drives appears to be a combination of non-compliances to the SANS 10400 and SANS 10254. The fact that the geyser was mounted on the wall for 10 years without any problems does not prove that the geyser could be mounted on the wall. The combination of the waterlogged wall behind the geyser caused the geyser feet to rust, which in turn weakened the geyser mounting. The geyser, still being in good maintained state, was found to be leak-free after pressure testing, and therefore the geyser did not burst. The cause of the water damage was due to the inlet pipe on the geyser that became dislodged from the drain cock when the geyser fell from the wall. So after discussion, it could turn out that the end finding and conclusion would be totally different to what you anticipate the problem was. Initially, the owner said to you the geyser was burst, but it didn't actually burst. There was some other reason that caused the water damage. It's because the geyser fell off the wall and the pipes came loose, so the geyser didn't burst. So through a logical discussion, reporting it and making the correct findings, you would get to a logical answer of what the problem was eventually. So it might be totally different from what you initially thought. So that's why you've got to put your thoughts into a logical sequence. Make findings out of the facts that you've got and only report to it. So don't start any new discussions here. You stick to the facts. If you do this conclusion and you see, but oh, well, okay, this is a new thing coming up in my mind, and I haven't discussed this, then you go back into the document again. You go and add the fact there, because that will happen. You'll see in a report, you write this and you say, oh, well, I haven't covered this. You have to go back and you've got to go and do the writing. You've got to do the finding, and then you bring it back into the logical sequence. You do not add it to the end of the document. So the aim of the report is to report on the possible cause of the resultant damages. So you take out the aim again, you go and check once you've read your conclusion and see, is this what I've done? Did I report on the resultant damages and the possible cause? Yes, the geyser fell off the wall, and the cause of the damages, the resultant damage, was because the pipes broke free. But there was another problem, and it wasn't SANS compliant. So yes, I've covered my my aim. So then you come, it is my opinion based on SANS 10254 para 5.4 that the geyser was not approved for wall hanging, resulting in a catastrophic failure with a resultant water damage that occurred. So there's your final conclusion of what happened. So then after that, you can have recommendations or you don't have recommendations. It depends on what the possibility is. Are you going to do the work? They'll most probably come back to you anyway and say, listen, what do you recommend? You're the specialist in this field. What do you recommend we do now? So then you can put in the recommendations. You say it is recommended that the moisture in the wall be investigated by a competent person as to the origin of the moisture behind the cellar wall. You move that away from yourself because you can't put a geyser there again, most probably. The wall is still water damaged. That is what caused the original problem. So it is recommended that once the wall moisture problem is solved, a geyser 200 litre or smaller, or a combination of 250 litres could be considered. So it is recommended that the option of relocating the 250 geyser to the cellar floor be considered. Although the pipes around the geyser are still considered good, whatever, and you can make recommendations as much as is necessary. Not too much, just what is necessary to get them back to the original state of having the hot water then, obviously. No humor, sarcastics, or advertising. You're not going to put in there, but you know, you can contact me for a good price or whatever the case may be. Always refer back to that. The aim of the report was to report, give the possible resultant damages, and you have now given them a couple of recommendations which could put them back on track the easiest way possible. So let's look at the composition of the report again. You've got your title, your introduction, the aim, the report, that's the body of the report with all the technical information in, whatever it need be to qualify this report. You would have some findings out of it, and then you'll have your list of findings. Moving into the conclusion, where after you have recommendations. So as I said, a good reader only needs then to read the title, the introduction, the aim, and the conclusion, and then you would know exactly what is spotting. So can you issue a PRB COC for the sale of a property? This is the question always. So no, not yet, as the current COC is not designed for that purpose. But what can you do? You can write a report, and this can take a lot of time. So when you're doing something like this, you must make sure that you have the standards well in hand, and you must know them. Remember who the reader will be. If it's a plumber, you can be more technical specific, but if it's for Mr. and Mrs. Jones, use easy understandable terms, not too technical. That is what the Consumer Protection Act says. So if they come to you and they say, I need a COC for the sale of a property, well, our COC is not designed as such, and it's in the process of being designed. And I'm quite sure Steve will most probably come in and tell us how far they are with it and what the process is. But at this stage, you cannot issue them a PRB COC, but you can write them a report. You can do an inspection, write them a report in this fashion. Here's an example. In your report, you would most probably have photographs because that's the easiest way of doing it. You have some notes on the photographs, arrows pointing, showing what the minimum height would be for this tap. And you'd have the paragraph 5. This is part of the report. It will be on the photo above. The same PVC tap is used and not at the required height. Also, all exterior pipes are PVC and painted, which should be copper per SANS 10252 Part 1. No PVC pipe for water reticulation is approved for the outside use being exposed to UV. Obviously, previously in the document, all those acronyms, you can see them: UV, ultraviolet protection, PVC, polyethylene pipes. You have qualified those use of acronyms previously. The tap has water flowing and is connected to the main water line. So you just report on what you see there when you're doing this inspection. Ground floor bathroom, the toilet pan collar has pan seal wax sealing the toilet, and it cannot be established if leaking or not, as there is no water supply to the main house due to the geyser being incorrectly coupled. The toilet inlet and mechanism is old and has various modifications inside the bowl, not clear if functioning properly. Pan cemented to floor, making it not serviceable at the pan collar to replace. Just reported on the facts. Another toilet report, main bedroom toilet cracked at the base and the pan collar smeared with pan seal. Toilet will have to be replaced as it has a serious crack and can implode under weight. When replacing, the toilet pan collar can be replaced. Toilet inner works also modified with pieces of wire. Toilet needs to be disinfected before removal, as it is also foul. So once a report is delivered for plumbing inspection of a property for the purpose of sale, the non-compliant issue should be corrected, and then a COC for the corrected items should be issued by the plumber making the corrections. So that is when somebody asks you for this, and I've seen this more and more in the garden route, sale of property, people are requesting this. I do say to them, our COC is not designed for this purpose, but we can do an inspection and give you a report. And if there are any non-compliances, whoever is going to repair these non-compliances, that plumber can then issue you a certificate of compliance for the work that he has done. But that won't be for the sale of the property, it's only for the work that is done. But that would be an additional item to your report. And have a good day, guys.